and welcome back to another fun week of Kino's Jump Journeys, where, boy, do we have chapters of manga this week. But how were those chapters of manga, and what do I have to say about them? Let's find out right now. First off, in last place, unsurprisingly, we have Witch Watch, Chapter 80, at a lower 4 out of 10. I don't want to do this. What's there to say? I'm so sad. So very, very sad. I remember a time when I liked this series. Now look where we are. Absolutely disgusting. I'm just bored. I don't care about any of this. Please stop. Oh dear God, please. Tokyo Demon Bride story at a lower 5 out of 10. Do I have to talk about this? No, I don't, because I make the rules. All I'll say is that this was boring, and I really don't care about the dumb necklace or anything else that happened here. Please just stop existing so I can be happy again. And after that, we have Ginka and Luna, Chapter 5 at a 6 out of 10. Okay, so this chapter was alright, aside from suffering from many of the issues that all the chapters have suffered. This chapter we learn about a bit more about Anemone, and how she was raised by some weird fellow who seems to have some sort of child slavery situation going on, where he raises kids only to raise them to train and almost certainly die by the intensity, in the hopes of creating powerful prodigies. This has made Anemone obsessed with being perfect and wanting to be strong enough to protect the kind of people who got abused just like her and her friends did. It's for this reason that she feels so upset about being saved, as she fears not being strong enough. This chapter she learns to rely on others, as Luna pretty much spends the whole chapter saving her. We then save all those people, and we end the chapter seeing some sort of fake Ginka, or a clone, or whatever, leaving some intrigue for next chapter. Overall, pretty bland stuff, and all I feel while reading this is disappointment, sadly. I feel like the axe is definitely going to happen, even if we'll drag on for another dozen chapters or so before the axe really does finally drop. And then we have the Elusive Samurai, Chapter 81, at an upper 6 out of 10. So, more fighting this chapter. Sword Kid is doing well against the angry guy, who we see a short little backstory for why he's sweating for the bad guy. And back with the crazy pervert, they managed to take him down at last with some teamwork and a sword to the neck, I think. And that's cool, I guess. Can't wait for whatever comes next. Yeah, sure. Following that, we have Super Smartphone, Chapter 22, at an upper 6 out of 10. So, yeah. So crazy how this series wants to be constantly proving how quickly it's going to be ending soon. I'll give it maybe 3 more chapters. Basically, Q goes to confront Zenichiro, then he gives up his super smartphone for some plan that I'm sure is really cool and such. Literally nothing else to say, or well, nothing I'll waste my time saying, as I have zero investment in the current events. Roboco, Chapter 108, at an upper 6 out of 10, has that one girl confess to Gorilla Gachi when they all thought the world was going to end, and then it turns out that the world wasn't going to end, so now she's avoiding him, being too embarrassed to face the situation. He, however, keeps on trying to find her to kind of talk to her about the situation, and eventually he does manage to catch up to her, and he's like, listen, I also like you, I love you more than anything, and all that stuff. And then Roboco gives him amnesia by hitting him in the head really, really hard, erasing any cool progress we could have had. Which is funny enough, though I do wish we were able to have anything that changed the status quo ever whatsoever. Not much more to say, I mean, it is Roboco. Now Mashle, Chapter 127, at a lower 7 out of 10, that divine visionary guy shows up and dispatches that bald guy immediately, only to then try to turn the key, and still not be able to. Very haha funny, love that stuff, very good. Back with Dot and Harry Potter, they encounter Mashle's big brother, who is on such another level that even with them giving their best effort, he seems to knock them out effortlessly, raising the stakes as we are nearly running out of time. And there's only so much time before we really need to get Mash back. Hopefully, next chapter we'll see Mashle get back up so the plot can move some more. But as it is, it's just kind of okay, I guess. And now, up next, we have Nura, Chapter 2, at a lower 7 out of 10. And, okay, as far as second chapters go, this was pretty alright. We see that in the present day, our main boy has cast aside his yokai side, wanting to live only as a human, as he sees yokai as nothing but troublemakers, though he doesn't seem to hold anything against the yokai of his house. I guess because they're, like, nice to him and all that stuff, and he kind of, I feel like he kind of looks down on them, much like you would, look at children being silly. I don't know. At school, that one bully kid, who looks like he's 30, seems to have flip-flopped his opinion, now saying that yokai are very real, and very cool, and also, he seems to be in love with, main boy in his yokai form, even though he doesn't know that's who he is. I don't know, he basically says he's in love, or I think he, literally says he's in love. Kind of weird for a manga to be that outward about, a character just being outwardly gay. But it's cool, I like it. Our main boy expects him to get bullied like he did, but the kids instead think this guy's totally right and also really cool. Just going to show that, I don't know, kids are sheep, I guess? A bunch of kids, including Rikuo, go to an old abandoned building where he sees a bunch of yokai and has to fend them off and hide them before anyone else can see. By the end of the chapter, we're still in the building, and if I had to guess, by the end of this little mini arc or some such, we'll have to see him transform again, which will be very cool. So, stay tuned for that. And now we have High School Family, Chapter 105 at a 7 out of 10. Well, folks, while the peak lasted a long time, I think it's okay that we are now settling back into being old reliable. While this chapter didn't blow my mind or anything, it was still fun and I enjoyed the Hikaru no Go reference. It's cool to see that Haruka is essentially better than what seems to be an ancient grandmaster of shogi, if the reference is taken to its logical conclusion. I always enjoy seeing Haruka play shogi since she and her dad are essentially pros at their given hobby. Seeing Haruka be the best is great, especially after she suffered a loss to her brother in the elections recently. I feel like she needed a win, and I think this chapter happening now is no coincidence. Very cool stuff. And now, Black Clover, Chapter 340 at an upper 7 out of 10. We had a pretty straightforward chapter, but in no way a bad one. I just don't think I'll have a whole lot to say about it. This chapter, Asta sparred with Yami's sister to test his application of his new power. She does a pretty good job thrashing him, but his anti-magic, mixed with Zetin, allows him to somewhat keep pace, even if she totally beat him into the ground. I imagine we'll see him get stronger and stronger, and once she acknowledges his strength, it will mean that he's ready to go back home and fight Julius, so I hope we'll have fun getting there. And now we have PPPPPPP, Chapter 52, at an upper 7 out of 10. This chapter, we look into Fanta's feelings and Sadame's relating to them. When Lucky confronts Fanta about what he wants, Fanta is offended that Lucky thinks he could possibly show him anything new about himself that he hasn't thought constantly every single day of his life. It becomes apparent that he holds some sort of resentment and feelings of abandonment from both his mom and possibly Lucky for having left all those years ago. We then shift to Sadame, who had seemingly spent a lot of time analyzing all the feelings of the siblings through countless studying, from everything from their career to their public appearances to even the things that they left unsaid and so on. He seems to have been able to perfectly capture Fanta style, or at least make a really good replication of his style. We're definitely going to get into some good stuff here, and I have to wonder where things will go with Vanta, and whether or not Lucky will be able to help him like he so desperately wants to. Only time will tell. And now Aliens Area, Chapter 18, at a lower 8 out of 10. So the alien assassin guy is here to fight the ear guy, and he dispatches him pretty easily, using some sort of gooey clone type ability, which is why I guess he's called the Twin Blade, which is pretty cool. But the real good stuff this chapter is what follows. We get a call from the outside, and apparently the whole building has been set on fire. The cause is Akane's old friend, that, one fire guy, whose name I forgot. But it seems like he isn't actually allied with A3, or, I don't know, maybe he doesn't care about them too much, because he uses Agony, which I think is that one firepower, because, Agony means fire, I think, to burn down the bar, and now he's doing it here to take Foreign Affairs 5 down with him, as well as A3, and especially this branch, implying that he himself will also die. I do think I'm definitely missing something, and I'm sounding stupid, but it's cool. I sound stupid all the time. He seems to want to talk to Shiraku as the place goes up in flames, but not before our main boy gets a good punch in the face at him, like we all love to see. Maybe we'll get to see him in more of a sympathetic light. It seems like this is going to be a pretty serious conversation we're going to have here, so maybe it'll be something cool. Maybe he'll key us into some information that we did not previously know about. I really hope this isn't spelling out cancellation, but I have massive fear with how fast we seem to be moving, but, I don't know. And now we have One Piece, Chapter 1062, at a lower rate out of 10. First off, let's talk real quick about that cover page. We see all of Chocolate Town frozen over, and that can only mean Aokiji. Why he was here and what he is doing is anyone's guess. But as he's allied with Blackbeard, he's likely after the Road Poneglyph. Or at least that's a popular theory right now, that I'm just regurgitating because I am stupid. But that's all we have to go on, so let's move on. This chapter we learn a lot more about Vegapunk, Egghead Island, and what exactly all that means. As it turns out, Vegapunk has split his mind between 6 clones, or something like that, so he can be more productive. They all seem to encapsulate some sort of trait, possibly the 7 deadly sins, if you include the head or Stella as one of the 7. We see some stuff with holograms and how technology is very advanced on this island. So far to the point that they have air conditioning for the whole island. Crazy that they have air conditioning at all, because I'm pretty sure that's not really a thing that exists anywhere else, but still, really cool. We also see that Zoro and the rest of the crew on the ship will be taken to Egghead, so our crew will likely not be split up for long. Finally, we see Lucci, discount Usopp, and that one girl as they are seemingly on their way to Egghead to take out Vegapunk. Also, they have a Seraphim of Kuma, which is cool. I guess that's like the newest version. I don't know. But they're on their way to take out Vegapunk because apparently he has become too much of a liability. And now that the world government has the Seraphim, they have little use for Vegapunk. This leads me to think that Vegapunk is, by necessity, going to have to side with our team, possibly getting us a really great ally for the future, but let's wait to see how things shake out. Following that, we have Blue Box Chapter 72 at an 8 out of 10. I think how Taiki got out of admitting his feelings was actually really well handled. His friend cracked a joke about how Taiki must like Yusa, since he was muttering about his badminton on the bus ride in his sleep. And he silently tells the manager girl to play along, and they all laugh it off. But Taki isn't really sure how he feels anymore. He still likes Janatsu. But recently he's been thinking a lot about Hina and how he feels about her, and it's tricky. We even get a scene where Chinatsu and he have a really cute and normal interaction that, for all intents and purposes, should have made him happy, but as she leaves, all he can feel is upset. Whether that's because his feelings are conflicted or whatever else there is, it's hard to say, but these kinds of feelings really hit close to home in many ways. I have to wonder whether or not we'll have any clear progress or change by the end of this arc, and whether or not Taiki will get his feelings in order. It seems like Chinatsu might be coming to accept her feelings for him, so if he were to change how he feels now, let's just say that the vibes would not be very great for anyone. Mission Yozakura Family, Chapter 149 at an 8 out of 10. This was a really compelling chapter. I love that Shinzo never doubts the idea that Kango could beat him. He respects his brother very much. Kango's the star of this chapter, with Taiyo pretty much serving as backup. They use a lot of tricky maneuvers, such as Kango dressing up as Taiyo, dressing up as Kango, and doing it nearly perfectly to make Shinzo suspect that Taiyo was dressing up as Kango, only for the real Taiyo to jump out and inject him with the needle. However, it seems to have failed, and we are told that no simple brainwashing could trick Momo's children, and Momo seems pretty confident in that fact. This begs the question of what exactly is going on. As I see it, there are around 3 possibilities as to what this could mean. My first thought is that they aren't brainwashed at all, and legitimately believe what they're fighting for. This would beg a lot of questions, chiefly, what could Momo have possibly told them to make them feel this way, and what could we possibly not know about the situation? Our other option is that they are in fact brainwashed, and it's just some sort of super brainwashing, beyond the level of what was used on the grunts. This option, in my opinion, is the most boring, but it's definitely a possibility. The final option, in my personal theory, is that they've had their memories erased or blocked in some way. How Momo would have done this is unknown to me, but Shinzo's line where he implies that he doesn't know what the siblings have against their dad is highly suspect, as he should very well know why they're upset. That aside, we end the chapter moving to Plan B, Brute Force, and I believe Taiyo is about to take center stage. Akane Banashi, Chapter 33 at an 8 out of 10. This week we see Akane's first day on the job as being an assistant at the Joseki. The whole day she's running around being, for all intents and purposes, the perfect assistant, hardly making any mistakes and being highly diligent. At the end of the day, her superior tells her that she had a great first day and also that he had thought too much of her. She's confused at first, but shortly realizes the true value of working here. The goal is not to be perfect and do everything right, though that is still important. The goal is to observe and learn what you can from the professionals, as you are working as close to them as you'll ever get the chance to. That one plump fellow expresses to Comedy Boy that Akane is diligent and a good little girl, seeming to somewhat look down on her, but Comedy Boy doesn't seem too convinced, as he thinks she's gonna shift gears soon and truly get moving. I'm excited to see exactly how Akane will make the best of the situation, and I am excited to see her improve even more, slowly moving towards being a real pro. Good stuff. And now we have Jujutsu Kaisen, Chapter 200, at an upper 8 out of 10. And I have to say, having time back with our boys, even in this precarious situation, feels really nice. I'm very happy that we are back to moving the plot forward in earnest, even if I did really enjoy all that time away that we had. So this chapter we really discuss the plans going forward. After a few funny attempts from Yuji trying to tell Megumi that Sukuna is the disgraced one, he finally gets it, and they both understand what the course of action seems like it has to be. Yuji is very likely going to have to die, or at least if they follow this plan they will, by way of having his soul rended from Sukuna in a process that would almost certainly be deadly. Yuji, in his current state of mind, seems to think this is fine, and he just doesn't really see it as a problem, whereas Megumi very much sees it as a problem. This really reflects how bad of a state Yuji's in, and the self-destructive path he's going down. But our plans are halted when we're told that many people are currently flooding into the culling game. We then cut back to the past, where Geto is talking with the President of America, and also the Prime Minister of Japan, among other people, I think, and they're talking about the value and existence of cursed energy, and how it could effectively be used as a clean power source, solving the energy crisis. Geto shows them the cursed glasses thingy, and lets them see cursed spirits, and the conversation essentially comes down to whether or not they should use the Japanese citizens as test subjects for this very idea. Crazy stuff, and it seems like the influx of people into the culling game are like soldiers or something. I'm not too clear there, but it does seem cool. Crazy that we're moving again, and I can't wait for more. And now, in the top 3, we have Sakamoto Days Chapter 90 at an upper rate out of 10. We open this chapter with a flashback to long ago with the teacher lady and the janitor guy. She talks about how their class of 25, all but the 2 of them have died, and how she wants to fix things through educating the future. Thus, she became a teacher, as the other man became the janitor, protecting the future from inside the school. And as she is dying from the blow of last chapter, she sees Sakamoto, who is now out of his disguise, and feels safe leaving the rest to him, having much faith in her old student. Sakamoto then squares off with the film guy, though he seems to have a little interest in Sakamoto, who apparently wouldn't make for a good protagonist, go figure. He's far more interested in the cow, whose aunt was killed by Slur. This thought process is stopped by the teacher's last-ditch effort in saving her students by throwing a fucking rod or something through the camera, through his camera and eye, causing a serious wound, though it seems to not bother him all that much. Next chapter will bring some more crazy shit, and I hope to see Sakamoto kick his ass, though I also imagine we're going to see more of Club Jam, which will also be fun. Now, we finally reached My Hero Academia chapter 369 at an upper rate out of 10. Another really good chapter of My Hero this week. We get to see Deku using his quirks to their full extent, working in a perfect harmony, bouncing off one another and allowing Deku to pull off some amazing combos. As this is going on, we get a reaffirmation that Deku is the peak of One For All, being the one to be able to fully brandish One For All to its fullest. We also saw at the beginning of the chapter a bit of the past between the second user and All For One, who was seemingly crying over having to kill him or something. I don't really understand why he was crying. And of course, we get a lot of him crying about how people who have no chance of winning are trying to fight back, and that makes him angry and whatnot. We also see Shiggy / All For One be very annoyed that they aren't even getting the chance to use their perfect body, a very distressing situation all around. We then see Shiggy erupt in pain, with specifically 9 stars above him, which is either just using stars to show shocks of pain, or it could be in reference to the 9 past failed vessels of All For One, which may or may not be vestiges in All For One, who knows. What I find to be really cool is that final page of a roided out spinner seemingly drugged up and leading the charge in the heteromorph conflict, and possibly on his way to help out Shiggy. I do hope he ends up being the one that quote-unquote saves Shiggy, or at least comes to his side to help him. Though I'm not too sure what the goal with him is in general, I am excited to see where things go. And finally, in first place, in my opinion unsurprisingly, we have Undead Unluck Chapter 130 at a 9 out of 10. And honestly, what's there to say? Undead Unluck is literally amazing every single week these days, giving us the coolest things imaginable effortlessly. This chapter we see a bit of a flashback with Vector and Juiz, and how Vector always wanted to carry everything by himself, always being the one to lead every fight, and take all the risk, being because he knows that he can handle it. He's the one that gave Juice the helmet she always wears now, and he wanted her to let him handle everything. Especially back when keeping her safe was the single most important thing to him. All of this becomes magnitudes more painful when her helmet breaks and she dies, leaving everything to him and her friends. The last page of the chapter was some of the coolest shit as well, giving us an absolutely metal page of Victor going full rage, most definitely about to throw down next chapter and buy us the 3 minutes we need to get this loop going. I don't know where things are going from here, but we are in for a wild ride to be sure. Alright, so pretty fun stuff this week, or at least I had a good time, despite a few stinky chapters at the beginning there. I'm sure some of you are wondering where Chainsaw Man is, but don't you worry. That'll be discussed in due time, just you wait. For now, I hope you can be kind enough to drop a comment or two. Really, any thoughts you have on the chapters this week would be great, as I would love to hear your thoughts. That being said, I hope you all have a nice night.